So let's talk about bodywork. Here we are, final stages of our 84 Firebird project. This is project Ladybird. And on this, we're already in 2K primer and we're getting ready to start prepping this thing up for paint. Now, on this, we're gonna go through, block it one more time, a little bit more guide code, but before all of that, we need to clean everything up. We're gonna remask all this. But while we're doing that and getting ready for the next steps, I wanna go ahead and recap just a little bit of what got us to this point right here. First, we went through, stripped the entire car down, all the way down to bare metal, and in the process of that, we found a lot of overkill whenever it came to filler. Now on this, it wasn't filler that needed to be done. It was done by somebody who didn't understand what they were doing, and they just put a lot of filler on here just to get it to where they needed to. The damage that was here wasn't all that bad and didn't require all the extra work. Once everything was stripped down to bare metal and everything was clean, we remasked the car and got it into a coat of epoxy. Now the epoxy is what's going to seal up the bare metal and give us the best corrosion protection as we work towards the next step in the bodywork and top coats and everything else. If you do not have a good foundation, everything else is just null and void. You're going to be working against yourself. And nobody wants to rework a car, especially whenever you have to take it back down to bare metal. Now when you're going through and trying to choose what filler that you're going to be using, quality matters on this. I've used all of them through the years. I've used Dolphin, Evercoat, a bunch of the different ones. I've always come back to Evercoat. You know, through the years, I've done their cheap stuff, the Z-Grip. Years ago, they had the Quantum series, and the latest iteration that they've got is this optics filler. Now, what it is, it mixes up pink, and then it changes color to green whenever it's ready to sand. Whenever I'm out here working, I'm not just working on one thing. I'm working on several panels, or back there working on other stuff. For me, it's just a time saver, it's convenience. That's as simple as it is. Somebody in a production shop, they may look at it differently, but that's how I look at it. I can simply take a look at the panel, see what color it is, and know right where, about how long I have for it to color change and be good to go. So as soon as the green hits, you're ready to sand, and then we can get going. I'm a dork, I swear. I searched all over this shop. I don't have any gloves to wear for mixing this, so I'm just gonna be a little extra careful. Wear your gloves whenever you're mixing this, guys. You're dealing with chemicals. At the end of the day, it's still chemicals in this product, and you just need to make sure that you protect yourself. So, disclaimer, wear your gloves. And I'll also throw that in there because there's gonna be some smart ass on YouTube. Yeah, there we go. Now, whenever you first open up this can, what you're going to be looking at is possibly some red marks that are going throughout. It needs to be mixed up some more. So just take a paint stick, mix it up good, and then we'll get going. Now, this filler mixes as a 50-to-1 mix. Basically, on a 6-inch puddle, you can take a strand of the hardener and just come straight across it, and that'll be good enough. And then mix her up. Now, one thing to note on whenever you're mixing filler is that you never want to go in and stir it up. Actually go into it and fold it over itself, pressing in whenever you're folding. What that's going to do is it's actually going to allow you to work out the air pockets that you're going to have. Now, you'll see some comments, people are going to say, hey, all fillers have air pockets. It's not like clear coat has runs built into it. It's all in how you do it and mix it up in the application of it. And we're going to set this camera on a time lapse just so you can watch it set up. And from there, we're going to go ahead and start moving our filler and doing what we need to on the stuff that we couldn't get completely finessed out. Now, the great thing about color change is it gives us a chance to see when it's ready and then break out our Lucky's blocks. Now, I personally like to go over everything with 80 grit to get the initial cut and then finish everything out and refine down with 180. Now, after this, what you're seeing here is we're hitting it with the Optics Super Build Pink Polyester Primer. Now, polyester primer is simply a sprayable filler. You're not going to get it completely smooth on spraying. You're trying to get build for leveling. Now, what you're looking at here is 2 coats of the Evercoat Optics Super Build Polyester Primer. It's a 4-to-1 primer, and yes, it's pink, obviously. Let's address that real quick. It is pink because it's basically a built-in guide coat to it. So you're not having to go back and use a spray bomb or some of the dust on, wipe on style. It actually is in the primer. So as we sand this with blocks, it's actually going to turn gray, and wherever is left over pink, that's going to show us where our low spots, stuff that needs to be addressed, anything like that. So it's kind of a one-step process. Now, we chose going with a polyester primer on this just to give us a little bit extra whenever it came to the surfacing part of this project. We've done a lot of work we never anticipated having to do on this, but we wanted to make sure that we had enough to basically bring it up to speed, make sure everything's good to go,
and then take it on to the next step. Now, after we get done blocking this, yes, we're gonna go through and put a 2K primer from Axalta on top of it, but we've got a lot of work to do before. Now it's just time. We've got to sand the car all over again, and we're gonna be running some blocks. Let's get to it.
Now we're going to start here with 80 grit on my long blocks and then going over the entire car, letting the paint do its work as the guide coat. Now according to the TDS, you can actually start with 180. Me personally, I like hitting it with 80 and then working up for whatever my primer on the next step actually requires. So just make sure that you have all of the paint sanded off, because if you don't and if you try to go right over it, you can potentially have some bleed through issues. Now on this project, we're going Axalta all the way through from primer up, and on this one, I love this 33430 primer. I came across it a number of years ago in the collision world, and ever since then, I've been hooked on it for any Axalta project that I do. 2 coats of it, and then go right over it with 320, and the 320, it just cuts it right down, and it sands like butter with very minimal effort. Just throw a guide coat on it, and then work it out, and then you're pretty much ready to roll. Now here we're going to go through and guide coat the entire car, because obviously we cannot paint over the 320 scratches, and we're going to get it prepped up for a dark gray sealer. Now on this, we're going to go through and actually DA it. We're going to do it kind of collision style here, but this isn't going to be a super show car. This is going to be a really nice daily driver for the family that's getting it. So 400 on an interface pad, just taking time and working through, and now we're prepped up for sealer.
So with that, that brings you up to speed on where we're at now with Project Ladybird. Now from here, what we're going to wind up doing is scheduling out the booth. We got to get it in probably about the next week or so, and we're going to take it up there and go ahead and get it all sprayed. Now, as we said before, this is going to be an all Axalta build from the primer up. As you saw earlier, we were using the 33430 primer. We're going to top that with the 44 series sealer and the Chromax XP. Now, as far as clear goes, not sure if we're going to use the 72-500 or the 74-500, but either way, Axalta all the way through. We'll update that on the next video. So from here, we got just a little bit more sanding to do and give it a good wash and get it towed up there to the paint shop. So stay tuned, because the next video, we're going to have some color. Take care, guys.